massive headache. And I mean, we keep talking about the way we manage pensions in this country. First of all, putting all our eggs in one basket is one of the riskiest things you can do when it comes to pensions. If you go to the United States, I'll just use them as an example. And I mean, I don't see why we can't copy best practice. In the United States, the police have their pension fund. Fire service have their pension fund. Government workers in a particular department have their own pension fund. And you see, what that means is that not all eggs are in one basket. It also means that you can hire the very best skilled people from Wall Street or wherever to come and manage that fund. Prudently invest it. Make decisions on a daily basis about what that money is used for that will yield dividends that are reliable, sustainable, long-lasting for the people who are paying into this fund. Because look, in reality, these funds, it's almost like a limitless source of money. That you will forever be employing people. Those people will forever be collecting their salaries every month. There will be forever contributions coming into the fund. All you need is some prudent, smart decision making, and you should be able to yield, some wonderful dividends for those who are paying into the scheme. But it doesn't all have to be done by one organization. I don't get that. I don't know why we can't start to diversify these sources of income. Some of them can start going into infrastructure, for example. Invest in roads, toll the roads, make your money back, or invest in building structures that are needed by people that will attract daily income to sustain and grow these funds. I don't know why we decide to put everything in one basket and call it SNIT.
We'll get into the paper, so I'll just make a point in a minute. Even if we decided that we wanted to put everything in one basket, SNIT as it is currently, is it managing our funds properly? SNIT. Do they manage our funds well? Look, we've seen George is editor of Joy Business. He knows that some of those who invested in our oil sector used pension funds. I do not, in God's name, understand why we are struggling to construct the Accra Tema motorway. I don't know. I don't see why we're struggling.
It has to do with the laws as well.
Yes,
and that's why there's a push for a review.
George, you see, this thing here, if you want to do... Why? Haven't governments taken amendments to Parliament that go under certificate of urgency? I know, I agree with you. That is the law. Change the law. And you can do so today or tomorrow. This is the other point. We all know that inflation is the greatest enemy of investing money in these government securities. Right, you invest in it. Inflation today is at 22%. And so tomorrow you invest. At what rate are you getting it? This is the point. If you were to invest in the Accra Tema motorway, for instance, a 10-lane motorway, and you told it, you can actually decide that, look, you know what? This is how I'm going to do it. We'll go electronic. Okay.
By the way, the tolls are coming next year.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. That we don't have. Look, we can actually decide that we want to use SNIT to build roads. Okay, durable roads, and toll them. Okay, housing, which SNIT has been engaged in for God knows how many years. Even that one, there's a problem. Recently, we saw the hotels that were making profit, hotels that were being turned around. People go into hotels, they're doing well. SNIT alone gets into the construction of hotels. They say, only one hotel is making profit. Then when we go and look at this, we realize that, some of the hotels in other years were also making profits. How do you do it? It's simple. I have the copy of the agreement with Legacy. Look, until we tell government to take its hands off SNIT, we will come back next year and have the same conversation. So for me, the time to act was yesterday. But it's better late today than never. So let's take that decision. Anyway, let's get into the papers.
News review brought to us by Access Bank, more than banking.
And the New Finder says Guta Hill's mid-year budget calls for consolidation of economic gains. Tourism, hospitality should be seen as serious business. We talked about that yesterday. Professor Ishun, Central Refinery's full operational license receives ARDA CITAC praise. No decision yet to spill water from the Akosombo Dam. That's according to the VRA. And just by way of information, so today the current level is 264.57 feet. Same time last year, it was 266.26. So the water level currently lower than it was last year. You know, at a point in time, it was higher than it was last year. Now it's lower than it was last year. And that's what they say a decision has not been taken yet. And city depreciation, creditors cash add 134 billion to public debt in 6 months. You know, this thing about what's the depreciation of the Ghana city does
It's
to
impacting.
to our public debt. It's always been there.
Because yesterday I was engaging the Minister of State at the Finance Ministry on PM Express, and there's a repeat at 11 today on Joy News. And she made an argument that if you look at the dollar component of the debt stock, it has actually come down. But when you do the city conversion, because of the depreciation of the Ghana city, that's why we've seen the debt balloon. But again, it comes back to the argument about how we need to keep the firm grip on stabilizing the city because of the rippling implication of that on the larger economy.
You see, but George, the Honorable Abnor Sayasari is explaining the problem.
Yeah.
She's-
Solutions.
She's explaining the problem to us. Why? You know the problem, don't you? Kojo knows the problem.
Yeah.
It is her responsibility, together with the governor, the two of them, and the government, the executive, see, it's their responsibility, okay, to solve the problem. Now, consistently, we are being told why we find ourselves in these problems. But we are never out of the problem. So the people that we have put there, and we say leaders solve problems, they don't explain them. As for our leaders, consistently they are telling us why we find ourselves in the situations where we are. Why? Winston Amwa, we're paying you. We're paying you. When I contribute money, it goes to you. Part of it is used to pay you to actually solve the problems. If I could solve the problem, I probably would be in your seat. So, but because I believe you can solve it, that's why we voted for your government. Enough of the explanation. Let's move on.
Do the Daily Guide, the lead story in the speaker hosts the Ivorian counterpart, that the speaker of Babin in handshake with the Adama Bidago, that is the speaker of the Ivory Coast, also joining him for a handshake. Also, Krapa commissions largest rooftop solar project as we look at diversifying the country's energy mix. The one of the highest or the biggest solar project has been commissioned. And also, Nana fulfills you has promised, and the Buhaha, it will just not end. Winston, just a little bit of it. The eagerly anticipated phase 2 of the University of Health and Allied Sciences project in the whole Volta region has been successfully completed, making a significant milestone in the expansion of the educational infrastructure in the country. And you know, there's a lot of back and for whether he deserves the PhD honorary or not, you know, and who started the construction and who didn't, and who has contributed to the growth of the university.
I mean, I've had this conversation with some people, and I still maintain that the pressing need of this country, the most important issue in this country today, is not whether Nana Akufo-Addo gets an honorary doctorate degree
The city, right?
from the University of Health and Allied Sciences. That is not the most pressing problem in this country today. So for me, it is a non-starter. And I say this, look, I am sure the handlers of Nana Akufo-Addo and Co will be happy that today we go and focus on something like Nana Addo getting an honorary doctorate degree and not talk about the problems in this country and not talk about the fact that today, in February 2024, Ken Oforiatta approved $10 million. No, $34.9 million. $34.9 million to be paid to Service Ghana Auto Group Limited, a company that the Auditor General has actually indicated, that one, their bills were inflated. They were using National Ambulance Service staff to do the very things that they were contracted to do. These staff members were actually on the payroll of the National Ambulance Service, and yet the Service Ghana Auto Group billed the ambulance service for the same service that their staff members,
They over invoiced
okay,
the Ghana ambulance.
now these people,
not just billed.
these people actually worked from for 8 months without any contract. They actually started work. We had paid them. They actually started work without even registration. Now this, for me, is one of the most pressing needs of the country.
Oh, you forgot the last one. That one of the directors is the beloved business partner
Yes.
of the president's daughter.
That for me,
Notice.
that for me is actually a pressing need. As for Akufo-Addo being given an honorary doctorate degree, why? I am interested in saving that money, okay? Because the Auditor General has had an opportunity, has reviewed the deal. The Auditor General has issues with it, and so that should not have even passed in the first place. We shouldn't be getting here. That for me is very, very important. As for honoring of, conferring a doctorate degree, it's the least of our problems as a country. It's the least of our problems. Oh, he didn't build a university, he didn't build a university. And so, the issue adopts an MPP, NDC propaganda. Look, what we need the most is to save the country. Do you know how much $34.9 million is?
And even Winston, not just about that incident alone, so there are a lot of infractions that the Auditor General's report has identified.
Yes.
And for me, for those who try to rubbish an audited report, I mean, if you appreciate a little bit of auditing, the work that goes into auditing stuff for that accountant to come out with his report, and for me, it's very, very important. You can have Kojeansin doing a report, you say that investigative people, that you say that, oh, it is biased, or somebody has paid him. But not when the Auditor General has come out with a report.
Yes.
When you go and audit on the ground, you raise queries, you issue letters, you call parties for clarity, and all those
auditing
things.
process is such
So when sometimes people want to rubbish a report put together by an Auditor General, I get surprised. So for the parties who they have been identified or whatever, it is good to get some clarity and what is being done to address some of these concerns. Because when you read some of these infractions, and you go out there and you are challenging people that go and pay your taxes.
Okay, so there's a statement released by the Ministry of Health on this matter. Do we have time for me to read it? It's not very long. Okay, so here we go. The Ministry of Health acknowledges the concerns raised by the Member of Parliament for North Tongue, Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, reflected in various media reports regarding the service contracts between Ministry of Special Development Initiatives and Service Ghana Auto Group Limited. The facts are as follows. 1. On September 10, 2020, the Ministry of Special Development Initiatives signed a contract with Service Auto Group Ghana Limited for the provision of after-sales service and maintenance for 307 Mercedes-Benz Sprinter 315 CDI ambulances. 2. The contract stipulated that the supplier shall provide the client with a projected budget for requisite spare parts and lubricants to ensure the smooth servicing and maintenance of the fleet. 3. Since the inception of the contract, the Ministry of Special Development Initiatives has utilized a portion of its annual budget allocation to support the National Ambulance Service and fund the maintenance agreement. 4. Following the dissolution of the Ministry of Special Development Initiatives, the Special Initiatives Development Secretariat took over the execution of the contract. On March 10, 2023, the Office of the Chief of Staff requested the Ministry of Health to explore ways to support the National Ambulance Service in maintaining the fleet of ambulances due to Parliament's refusal to approve the budget estimates of the Special Initiatives Development Secretariat for the 2023 fiscal year. Subsequently, the Ministry of Health wrote to the Ministry of Finance requesting the establishment of letters of credit for an amount of $34,904,505 on behalf of Service Ghana Auto Group Limited for the procurement of spare parts for the 307 units of ambulances. 7. The Ministry of Finance responded indicating it could only fund up to $10 million of the requested amount and recommended that the Ministry of Health explore financing the difference through the National Health Insurance Authority, NHIA. 8. The NHIA, in correspondence with the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Finance, stated it was unable to fund the cost of the procurement of the spare parts as part of the 10% allocation to the Ministry of Health because this was not captured in the allocation formula approved by Parliament. 9. The Ministry of Health would like to clarify that the service provider, Ghana Auto Group Limited, has not been paid an amount of $34.9 million as widely reported. Where was that reported? Anyway, let me get back to the statement. The Ministry of Health is committed to ensuring a sustainable maintenance regime for all fleets procured for the National Ambulance Service to provide reliable, efficient, and safe emergency medical services. 11. All documentation covering this transaction is a matter of public record and can be accessed by the public. 12. The Ministry of Health is ready to support any effort that will bring further clarity to this issue in the interest of the public.
So I look at this statement, okay, and the Ministry of Health says the Ministry of Finance responded indicating it could only fund up to $10 million of the requested amount and recommended that the Ministry of Health explore financing the difference. So the Ministry of Finance, we have said they paid $10 million.
Yes.
So nobody's talked about 34. We said that you actually signed an agreement
For
of
34.9
million.
But you have paid $10
You
million.
paid $10 million. But you see, what this statement does not do is to tell us how they arrived at the $34.9 million.
Thank you.
Why? How did you arrive at 30? And you make reference to 307. The Ghana Ambulance Service indicates that some of these vehicles are not functioning. In fact, the Auditor General indicates that by March the following year, 16 of them were not functioning. So, how do you arrive at $34.9 million? Ministry of Health, come and explain. Okay? Come and explain how. You see, how do you answer questions of this same entity, which the Auditor General says that they overbill you, one, they actually use your staff members
To deliver
the same service that you sign a contract with them to deliver.
Yeah.
the same service that they are overbilling you for.
And yet, so your staff members who are on your payroll, paid by the state,
And-
are used to perform functions that a private man charges the state for.
And I was asking that where was the Ministry of Health?
No explanation.
when the auditing was being carried out.
No
by the
explanation of
Auditor
how this company was even contracted. Right? What due diligence was done? I mean, the accusation that is being made that this company's director is the business partner of the president's daughter. No addressing of that issue. All they have come to say is to answer a question nobody has asked, to clarify an issue nobody is confused about. Nobody has said that you have paid out $34.9 million. Nobody has said that anywhere.
But-
Everybody has said you have paid out 10 million. So what clarification have you given?
My argument is that where was the Ministry of Health when the auditing was being carried out? And did they provide these answers to the Auditor General?
In fact, the management response in the Auditor General's report had raised no objection to the Auditor General's findings.
Look,
Public Accounts Committee has sat on this matter, deliberated on it, and I'm very disappointed in them as well. By the way, talk about them later on the show. I'm very disappointed in that particular committee of Parliament. But after all of this, the company continued to do business with government to the point where you approved this 34.9 million
Look.
payment and gave them 10 million out of it.
today, our demand should be that the company refunds monies to the state. With interest, of course, with interest. I don't see why we take things for granted in this country. Look, that service, Ghana Auto Group Limited, which the Auditor General, and that's my problem with this Auditor General, you have clearly seen someone has appropriated to himself monies that he doesn't deserve. You disallow it, surcharge him. The appropriate authority must make sure the monies are paid. Failure to do so, he will pay the money. Then we move on as a country.